I'm the executive director at the Harbor Entrepreneur Center, and I help entrepreneurs collide with other entrepreneurs. Done.
The thing that we're talking about today, of course, is the Harbor Entrepreneur Center, and this is their website. Hello, Grady. Welcome to Networking Over Coffee.
Thank you, Phil.
Now, let's set it. I mean, some of the folks on the call are going to know the Harbor Entrepreneur Center. Some folks, this is going to be brand new to them. So give them the quick on what it is and why they should care.
Well, the Harbor Entrepreneur Center was founded, and I used this word earlier, to provide a place where entrepreneurs can collide. And we know that if you bring entrepreneurs together and they bump into each other, good things will happen. And it is no exaggeration to say this, because I've seen it happen. If an experienced entrepreneur runs into another experienced entrepreneur, and one of them has a really interesting problem to solve, and they start riffing on the solutions, and something comes out of that they go, well, gee, that we could make money at that. I've seen them stand up a company within a week. So we know we provide those opportunities. Good things will happen, and some of those opportunities also include the opportunity to help young companies. Because that's fun and rewarding. Yeah. So that's briefly why the Entrepreneur Center is important. It's just it's a good building block in the ecosystem.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to explain that to me, because I'm a firm believer in taking smart people, putting them in a room, and letting them figure out what they can build on their own or make happen together. We know
usually you pour a bunch of beer on them. I've seen it in action.
Okay, here's the deal. I'm working with introverts. They need to chat with each other. I got to put a beer in them to get them started. That's the way it works.
I'm the introvert's introvert.
So this morning, it's just coffee instead. Well, you do, and the thing is, we could provide a room, right? A campfire, if you will. I always think about that. That's kind of the metaphor. I'm doing that. You guys are certainly doing that with the Harbor Entrepreneur Center. That's the campfire, but there's office space and stuff wrapped in and around that, I think. But you have events as well. One of the things that I know from having people and bringing them together is if you give them something to work on together, they get tied together even more, right? The ligature works better. They become entangled with each other and build things, because the trust level goes up, and that's what we're all about. But you got a couple of programs that you're working on right now, and you pick which one you want to tell us about first, but talk to us about what you got going on there.
Sure. The first one that just sort of ties into what you were talking about, Phil, is we are 2 days away from the deadline to submit applications to our Harbor Accelerator program. Some pretty exciting things on that program. We revamped it when I started back in 1st of January, and we've done a couple of major tweaks to the program that we think will improve outcomes. The first is we are, instead of trying to run 2 cohorts a year through the Accelerator program, we're only going to do 1 this year. They're going to stay in residence for 24 weeks. And that is because we observed over the years that the young companies just didn't have the time to execute and implement a lot of the advice that they were getting from mentors like myself, who tend to get, coffeeed up, hyper, do this, do that, here, call this guy, do that. And they don't have time to execute before the next session. So we're stretching it out, giving them more time to implement and execute. The second piece of it is that we normally had been, the cohort had been pitching at the end of the cohort for investment at the end of the cohort. Now we've actually gone ahead, worked with the funding sources, put together a fund. It's standing at over $100,000 now. And so each company that's accepted into the cohort is going to get at least a $10,000 investment to start at the cohort, because that's the other thing we noticed is these young companies didn't have enough dough to implement this is not life-changing dough, but it's some dough. And it's not a grant, it's an investment. And that's really important because in many cases, the investors are also the mentors. So there's going to be some skin in the game from the very beginning from the mentors. It puts a little bit more oomph into that process.
Right.
And then the final thing is that we've aligned the Accelerator cohort with the Charleston Angel Conference. That was something that was going on parallel to the Harbor Accelerator program. But now it's aligned. I'm producing both of those programs. And our Accelerator cohort will now be the pitch companies for the Charleston Angel Conference. And that we think will increase the funding opportunities for those companies coming out of the cohort. So that's pretty exciting. You want to talk about that before we go on to the next one, Phil?
Yeah. So in that bit, I mean, so 2 days to deadlines. What kinds of folks apply, right? And who are you looking for? Are you looking for anybody? Is it full up? I mean, what's that look like?
Well, it's definitely not filled up because the more companies that are in that application pipeline, the better the outcome will be from for our selection committee to choose. And we're very agnostic in terms of what kinds of companies go in there. We're not a quote tech incubator. Food products are good. Basically what we're looking for, Phil, is scalability. It wouldn't be somebody who wanted to come in to, the idea of maybe starting a muffler shop, something like that. That's, bricks and mortar. You can do one. That's a different kind of a business. We're looking for something scalable. In many cases, it tends to be software as a service because that's the most easy, I won't say easily, but simply scalable. But it could be
capital investment is usually way
things.
less, right? I mean, that's the issue on those. They scale more easily, and that's why those are interesting to me, I think.
Yeah. But yeah, the most, we're still accepting applications, and we're also looking for companies that have a little bit, have a product already. If you're still, in your garage figuring out what your prototype might be, you're probably too young. But if you've got that, minimum viable product and you've got some users or some sales, that's probably a good time to get into a program like the Accelerator. And then you get the free office space. You get curriculum for 24 weeks. You get mentoring. You get access to investors, constantly. You're socially networked in with all the other things that we do. So you come out of there with a big, a pretty large network of contacts, and then a chance at, at some real dough.
Yeah. I think that it feels to me like any of these programs, this one's in particular, I think, because I think Charleston is a great place to do this, right? But I think that in this spot, the more prepared you are to be able to act upon the good advice and energy you receive of being around those people, the better this is for you. So someone who's got a bunch of distractions, someone who's not, ready to actually take decisive action on it, they're probably not as good a fit. But someone who is, I just think this is a rich opportunity for them.
And it's a cool environment to be there with the other startups. I mean, I know when we were a startup, we were so alone, and we were afraid because we had started the Charleston Regional Business Journal on my, the original founder Bill's credit card,
right.
And with a second mortgage. I mean, we didn't know what the heck we were doing, and it was, the only description I can make of those times is it was visceral. I mean, we didn't know what was going to happen. It just looked grim.
Yeah.
And just to be in that atmosphere, a different atmosphere with a bunch of startups around you, there's some peer-to-peer mentoring, and you'll learn from others, which is as an entrepreneur, that's a hard lesson because you think you're bulletproof, otherwise you wouldn't start a company. And then to be in that atmosphere where you learn from peers and all of that, it's really important. Those are lessons you take with you forever.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. I think it's a great environment, and I'm hoping that you get lots of folks who are willing and ready to take action on that energy that you can get by being together in this. I mean, I hate doing this, but we got two things that you guys are working on. So you got two campfires going that we're interested in. Talk about this coding school that you've got.
Whenever you say campfire, I see Ross's thing going in the background. Now that boy got a campfire.
Right.
The other thing we got going on is kind of a little hidden secret, but we are one of only 2 licensed by the state coding schools in South Carolina. And we teach full stack software development right out of the Harbor Entrepreneur Center here in Charleston. And it's a 14-week intensive full-time. It's 8:30 in the morning to 3:30 in the afternoon, 5 days a week, intensive full stack software development program. And our graduates are coming out in 14 short weeks as qualified junior level software developers. And it's an asset to the community that that is largely unknown. And one of my missions here, personal missions, is to change that and trumpet that from all the high roofs that I can, because everyone in the software businesses, they're dying for people, and here's a way to either grow your own or be there with a catcher's mitt, getting our graduates as they come out of there. So it's a tremendous opportunity to put it in perspective for you. You can come into our course. I'm starting one now in March. It starts next week. Not too late to sign up. I got like 2 more days to sign up. I'm right here. I'm like the deadline guy, Phil.
That little newspaper habit.
I know it's the old newspaper. Wait till the end. I just need a deadline. I don't need to do it in advance. But if you started here at the end of middle March, by end of June, you're fully qualified to hire as a software developer, junior level. Now you won't be a team leader, right, but you're ready to go. The other thing that's really interesting about this, if you started as a high school graduate, and not this course that's starting now, but start in our June course, right when you got out of high school, you'll be graduating from JRS Coding School, ready to hire. And by the way, those salaries tend to be in the mid 50s. You'd be ready to hire right about the same time that your peers were matriculating for their first college courses. So, for the right kid, this is a tremendous opportunity to get out into the workforce or to add that skill for somebody, and for companies that want to grow their own. And I've got an example of that starting in this cohort now, where a company, they're a defense contractor, local branch, we're tired of waiting for HQ or outsource people to do some web development, software development stuff that they needed done in-house. And so they're just sending one of their very valuable employees to coding school. 14 months later, they'll have their own software developer, in-house.
Yeah.
So it's a great way to grow your own as well. And I'm very excited about it. It's huge potential, and a real way. Those two things, the Harbor Accelerator and the JRS Coding School, are ways that we can, at the Harbor Entrepreneur Center, we can make tremendous impact on the community. Yeah. And that's why I'm here. I being former journalist and all that, I always look for something worthwhile to do. And it really checked those boxes for me, going, man, this is a great thing for the community.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a lot going on, and it's good stuff. And I think we're ready for that, right? I think the universe is ready for someone to be helping people build businesses, helping folks level up their skills and get those stuff that they could use to go out there and be coding. I mean, I feel like it's been a good gig for me. I got to think it's been a better gig for other people. So we said that we would take questions if we had any questions from the audience. If you start in the chat, that might be the way to do. If you raise a hand, I could do that through audio, I guess, as well. But if you got any questions for Grady about what's going on. I see Ross has his hand up. So maybe I'll just start with Ross. Look at that. And maybe you got the little thing going. I want to ask Ross to unmute. And if you've got a question, if you'd raise your hand or just put something in the chat that I can find, I think I can manage that. All right. I think I've got you unmuted, Ross. Go ahead.
Sounds good. All right. So it was when you're taking in businesses and entrepreneurs, do you have a certain, like, you must be this $1 million level in for 2 years, or you're just what kind of minimum are you looking for?
Ross, there's really no minimum at all. I mean, I think the minimum is just having that that minimally viable product, be through the prototyping stage. Okay. Unless, I mean, the other unless I would give you is if you had a really cool, gizmo. And prototyping, you actually needed some kind of manufacturing expertise or whatever. We've got some mentors who like making things, who would be really attracted to, the next widget. So it's really open. I think like Phil was saying earlier, that, it's more the ability to come in, be in residence at the harbor for those 24 weeks. And have something scalable where that idea is, is approaching product or is already a product. That's really where it is. Revenue levels don't really matter. It's nice to have some revenue coming in because keeps you from starving to death while you're there. But that's what our original, our initial investment is for, is to, like I said, it's not life-changing money, but there's our location is at the Citadel Square Mall. It's a former mall space. So there's a Chick-fil-A across the food court from us. So
Yeah. Well, good. Well done. All right. Thanks. Thanks for that. I want to say Michaela had something that she wanted to ask. I'm going to add her up on the screen and ask her to unmute. There you go.
Hey there, Grady. Nice to meet you. It
Good.
sounds really interesting, and think about some people to share this information about the Accelerator program. I was wondering, these $10,000 investment, what are the strings attached to it for the startups or startups to be?
It's a convertible note, so you'd be giving up some equity, and it's like I said, it's not a grant. It's just it's a small equity investment. And but that there are other details on how the note converts and when the note converts that is comes out in the interview process, because there's a valuation of the company and et cetera. But it's it's not a grant. It is some equity, and that's pretty common in this arena, this accelerator arena.
Are there also then rules to take care in, for example, Series A or B, so have to take care that you have a kind of pre-ride for it? Because usually I think in a strategic way, and I always curious about these things.
I'm not sure I understood the question. Ask me that again.
So sometimes there is, if you make this pre-seed investment, that you have a contract that for the next founding round, so Series A or Series B is the words I know for it, that you as investor has a pre-right to invest money before other investors. So I'm wondering if the startups will be free after that round for the next funding round to choose freely an investment, or do they have to take care of harbor?
I don't think that's the case. I think they're free to do that. No one has asked. I've been here only 2 months, so I've not heard that question before. But I believe that the way it works is that that convertible note kind of kicks in when the company is evaluated in the next funding round. But I don't believe there's any other preconditions on that.
Okay, thank you.
But all of that, I mean, all of that comes out in the interview process. If you have companies that are interested in applying, go ahead and apply. It doesn't cost anything to apply. And then if you make it through to the selection committee round, that's when those kinds of details can come out in and folks much better at than me could answer those kinds of questions.
Next question's from Amanda.
Hey, yeah, just going back to what you were talking about with the coding school. What is the, well, first, what's the cost? I might have missed it for the 14-week program. And then also, what kind of coding skills do you teach specifically that helps prepare people for full stack, a junior level?
The cost is $10,000.
Okay.
And just on that, we have, some financing and payment plans and whatever to try to make it as easy as possible. And then the second thing, I do have some scholarship dough and some commitments for scholarships. And we're reserving those at this point for folks coming from underprivileged backgrounds.
Okay.
And that's sort of a merit-based thing right now that, somebody
Sure.
just need to apply and say, hey, can I get a scholarship? And we'd evaluate that if we, if needed.
Okay.
And on the skills, how about if I email you, if you're interested in that, I could email you a sort of a skill list that we teach, because it's rather extensive.
Sure.
But it's JavaScript and
Okay. Just wondering like where you kind of focus for them, and that helps me too, as I'm like, because being in the software and applications technology side of things, it's nice to know like what y'all are teaching, so that I can always say, hey, do you have anybody who would fill this position, or anything like that. So it's nice to know like what kind of is going around.
And by the way, Amanda, I have 3 graduates right now who just graduated.
Great. Okay.
So if you're looking for people, I got 3 of them on the hoof right now.
Awesome. It sounds good.
And I got
Grady
6,
is skilling them up.
I got 6 of them starting mid-March who will be ready to hire mid-June.
Great. Awesome. I'll message you my email on LinkedIn, so you have it.
And I'll give you a quick little course description, but it's pretty close to Carolina. I mean, Carolina and we're in conversations, contact, trying to make sure we're going down the same path.
Awesome. Thank you.
I love this. Grady is skilling him up and Amanda's trying to put him to work. All right,
Hey,
I got time for one
That's what
last
it's all
question.
about. If you know a bunch of stuff, but you're sitting home eating ramen noodles, man.
We can fix that.
Yeah.
Right. Well, we give you opportunity. All right, one last question. Victor?
I was just wondering, Grady, brainstorming a little bit about, wouldn't it be great to have some sort of capacity to fund these great ideas, have an incubator of ideas and a presentation where individuals like myself could say, well, hey, I really like that idea. I'm going to put $100 into it and then get some sort of equity if it works, or lose it all if it doesn't work. But take a risk kind of on a like you would with a stock market, you know, and that way you could get these guys could be fed while they're developing their products with some Chick-fil-A money.
Right. Well, that is essentially what we've done. We put together a group of investors who are investing, up front in these companies, a very small amount in each company, $1,000 or a little bit more per company. The other thing that you may be interested in is the Charleston Angel Conference. The whole purpose of that conference is to educate investors and potential investors about this asset class. And for a very small amount of money, I think it's $2,000. You attend the Charleston Angel Conference, and your $2,000, all of your $2,000 goes towards an investment into these companies. And so what you get is you get a full day of education from investment experts who are very familiar with this asset class. You get to be part of the due diligence discussions on the cohort. The cohort is used sort of like a lab experiment for the investors, if you will. And so you get to be part of all those due diligence discussions. You get to understand how the experienced investors are looking at and evaluating each of these cohort companies. And then you get to self-direct your 2000 into whatever company you like. So you get to hear them all pitch. You get to hear the due diligence follow up. You get to hear what the experienced folks are talking about, and then you get some deliberation time, and you can direct your funds into each of the cohort companies. So if you're interested in that, you know, it's a much better, it's a more in-person and personal crowdfunding kind of deal, right? And plus you get to spend a couple nights down here in Charleston in August, which is, you know, hot, but you know, it ain't that bad. And so that occurs in August, that Charleston Angel Conference day. And then the final pitch event is in September. But I would highly recommend you getting involved with that. It's and it's a blast. You know, you come out there with a network of investment folks that you've had some interaction with.
Yeah, and Vic, thank you for the question. And my thing is, you know, we try to do this. We start on time, we end on time. So I want to make sure we just do a quick recap of this. Grady, you've got 2 great programs, as well as all the other stuff that you've got going on at the Harbor Entrepreneur Center. I'm hoping folks, you know, I will certainly send around your contact info, but if you wanted to stick it in the chat again, if anybody wants to get that, an email or something like that, and talk to Grady, that would be awesome. And I think the thing I'm going to do here is give everyone the opportunity to thank our guest for coming here and talking to us today about what he's got going on. So I've given you the capability to unmute. I know that you guys know how to do this because we've done this kind of thing in the past. And we're just going to say thank you all together. And I'm going to count you down right into this thing. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
Appreciate it.
Hi, Kim.
Hi, Grady.
Just going to say, you guys made Grady's day. He's not going to have that many people say thank you to him for anything else all day long.